You must be a great pianist, huh? She said with a malicious grin. Emily, my eldest son's wife, said this to me with a mean-spirited smile. At this family gathering, it seems her aim is to make me embarrass myself. As an elite music conservatory graduate and her only source of pride, Emily is desperate to take over the grand piano in my house. I, too, was reaching the end of my patience. My name is Margaret, and I turned 60 this year. My husband has passed away, and my 3 sons each have their own families now. I currently live alone in a house that is too large for just one person. I guess that makes me what you'd call a solitary senior, but fortunately, my eldest son and his wife, Emily, live nearby. It's reassuring to know that I can consult them if there's any trouble. Ideally, I should sell this large house and move to a smaller apartment or condo suitable for living alone. But there's a reason I can't move. It's the grand piano that my late husband gifted me. As long as this piano is here, I probably won't leave this house. However, this grand piano has been a source of friction. My eldest son's wife is named Emily. And she's the one causing all these problems. She's a woman who seems to flaunt her elite music conservatory background, and I found her a bit hard to deal with from the first meeting. But since she was the woman my son chose, I didn't impose my opinions. The couple had a hurried wedding, and I remember how quickly their marriage happened. However, it turned out that the pregnancy was a misunderstanding. I was utterly astounded, but my good-natured eldest son comforted her, saying, "Everyone makes mistakes. There are ulterior motives in women that men can't see." I think Emily desperately wanted to marry my eldest son, John. It might sound odd coming from a parent, but my son John really is the complete package, tall, well-off, and handsome. Plus, he has such a calm and kind personality. I believe she took advantage of his kindness, and I just couldn't bring myself to like her. It seems Emily also finds me difficult. She tries to respect me as her mother-in-law, but I can see right through her disdain. Perhaps it stems from my hobby of playing the piano. I have never played the piano in front of her. Several times, she has challenged me, saying, "I would like to hear you play," but I have always refused. I played the piano for my late husband. That was my intention then and will be forever. I didn't want to explain all this to her. Why should I sit at the piano, only to be sneered at with her condescending smirk? Every time we meet, she makes these remarks, and I'm truly fed up. Just last week, I had another unpleasant experience with Emily. Although it's reassuring to have each other's houses nearby, it's a bit of a problem since we share the same neighbors. Emily loves gossip and has a habit of spreading all sorts of rumors. At the time of her marriage, she told the neighbors that I was vehemently opposed to their wedding, which caused her so much stress that she miscarried. However, she wasn't pregnant at all, so a miscarriage was impossible. Moreover, she's trying to play the tragic heroine, casting me as the villain who stressed her out by opposing the marriage. Emily, have you been spreading lies to the neighbors? Even though it was early in their marriage, I couldn't just turn a blind eye to this. So, I confronted her about it. Emily looked a bit guilty at first, but eventually became defiant, smiling her usual sneer. "How terrible of you. I don't know where you heard such rumors, but it's awful that you believe others over me. Am I still not part of the family?" She, adept with words, turned the accusation around on me. She even put on a tearful performance. I was completely taken aback by this. To think she could lie so blatantly and shamelessly. This issue eventually reached my son John's ears, and it ended with me being gently admonished. Though I was dissatisfied, I decided to let it go, considering it happened early in their marriage. In mother-in-law and daughter-in-law issues, I always seem to be at a disadvantage. To avoid further rumors, I decided to endure it this time. And recently, a similar incident occurred. One morning, I noticed the neighbors change their expressions upon seeing me. Their reaction made me immediately suspect something had happened. Their reaction was exactly the same as before. "Good morning." When I greeted them, they dispersed like scattered spiderlings. This made me feel that another strange rumor was being spread about me. When I returned home, I immediately contacted a neighbor with whom I'm close. "Sorry for calling this early in the morning," I began, explaining what happened and asking if she had heard any strange rumors about me. She hesitated but eventually revealed the new rumor. It was an absurd claim that I had shortened my husband's life. Apparently, the rumor was that I had a habit of wasting money, and my husband had to keep working past retirement, leading to his death from overwork. However, my husband had already passed away before Emily joined the family. She couldn't possibly know anything about him. After hearing my explanation, the neighbor agreed, saying, "That's true indeed." She decided to help clear up the misunderstanding among the other neighbors. I felt a bit relieved that the rumor might not spread further. But then, my anger towards Emily started boiling over. After marrying, Emily quit her job to become a full-time housewife. Apparently bored during the day, she often gathered young housewives in the neighborhood for gossip sessions. Lacking daily conversation topics, she must have casually spread these malicious rumors about me. Thinking about her using my late husband for entertainment infuriated me. After finishing breakfast, I decided to visit my eldest son's house. I believe I arrived at my eldest son's house around 9:30 a.m. By that time, my son John had already left for work. When I called out at the entrance, a disheveled Emily appeared from the bedroom. "Emily, were you sleeping until now?" I asked, surprised. "It's inconvenient when you visit without notice." "What is it, so early in the morning?" Emily grumbled, clearly annoyed. The living room she led me to was messy and uncleaned. Even though I live nearby, I try not to interfere with my son and his wife's life, so I don't often visit their house. But this situation was simply too much. "I apologize for not contacting you first. It was an urgent matter, so I'm sorry about that," I said, offering an apology before getting to the main point. "Couldn't you have settled this over the phone? Why bother coming all the way here?" Emily clearly found my visit distasteful. She sat deeply in the sofa in her pajamas, crossing her legs. It almost felt like she was looking down on me. Facing Emily, I struggled to contain my rising anger. I calmly asked her about the rumors, trying not to raise my voice. To this, she snickered, "Oh, that matter? Can you explain what you mean?" "I'd prefer you not spread strange rumors," I said. "What?" "But it's the truth, isn't it?" Emily retorted, smirking again. "On what basis are you saying such things?" My tone became harsher, driven by her attitude. But she seemed smugly unfazed. "That grand piano is the proof. You begged your husband for it, right? I've never even seen you play it." Emily accused me of being wasteful for insisting on a grand piano that I supposedly don't play. Emily understands the value of that piano. It's expected, given she's an elite music conservatory graduate. Don't you think it's the epitome of wastefulness to ask for a piano you can't play? "I feel sorry for your late husband," Emily said, fully mocking me. Her attitude left me speechless. As I remained silent, she laughed, "Can't argue because it's true, right?" I couldn't bring myself to share the precious story of me and my husband with such a woman. The thought of our memories being tainted by her made me stay silent. "So you go silent when it's inconvenient?" I stood up from the sofa and said, "Sorry to bother you," said to Emily. She laughed triumphantly. Her laughter pierced my back as I left the living room. Frustrated and upset, I cried when I got home. Since that rumor incident, I've kept my distance from my eldest son and his wife. Honestly, I never want to see Emily's face again. I do feel sorry for my son John. But imagining him caught between his wife Emily and me in mother-in-law and daughter-in-law issues, I thought it best to keep my distance. However, there are times when avoidance is impossible. Those times are traditional holidays and New Year's. This year, I'm celebrating my 60th birthday. John contacted me about having a celebration. My second and third sons and their families living out of state were also coming home. Other relatives, like my husband's sister, would also gather to celebrate my 60th birthday. I was truly happy to see my sons, daughters-in-law, and grandchildren, who I don't get to see often. For this day, I decided to turn a blind eye to Emily. I convinced myself of this. From the day before my 60th birthday celebration, my grandchildren from out of state started to arrive, filling the house with excitement. Usually alone, the sudden increase in people was overwhelming. My grandchildren were all energetic, running around the house. Among them, my second son's daughter quietly observed my piano. "Do you like the piano?" I asked her, and she nodded. I remembered being consulted by my daughter-in-law, the wife of my second son, about her extreme shyness and reserved nature. She seems to be worried because she has trouble making friends even in kindergarten. "How about playing it?" I suggested. My granddaughter's face lit up at my words. When I opened the lid of the keyboard, she hesitantly reached out her hand. As I seated her at the piano, she asked in a small voice, "Can I play?" "Of course, go ahead," I encouraged her. My granddaughter pressed a key with her little finger. A beautiful sound echoed. She seemed surprised by the spread of the sound. Repeatedly placing her fingers on the keys, she closed her eyes to savor the sound and its resonance. Watching her profile, I thought to myself that I could pass on the piano to this girl. Hearing the piano, my daughter-in-law, the wife of my second son, peeked in, saying, "Sorry to interrupt." Surprised by the sudden appearance of her mother, my granddaughter returned from her world of music. It seems she likes the piano. Is she taking piano lessons? When I asked my daughter-in-law, she replied that they hadn't started piano lessons yet. She mentioned they couldn't afford it due to financial constraints. Indeed, the family of my second son is quite large. They are raising 5 children. Their financial strain is probably a reality. I see. Feel free to rely on us more. Don't be shy. My daughter-in-law nodded happily at my words and said, "Thank you." I felt like brewing some of my confidence into a potion for Emily. I wondered who was playing. With a loud voice and without any reservation, Emily entered the room. Glancing at my granddaughter seated at the piano, she scolded, "This is not a toy. This piano is not for children to touch. You don't understand its value. How dare you play without being able to?" Emily tried to push my granddaughter aside by the shoulder. My granddaughter seemed to think she had been scolded and got off the chair with a frightened look. Then, she immediately hid behind her mother, my second son's wife. "This piano is only for music elites like me to touch. It's not a toy for children or the elderly." The last comment was clearly a dig at me. My daughter-in-law quietly took my granddaughter out to the garden. Watching them leave with crossed arms, Emily moved to sit on the now empty chair in front of the piano. I instinctively closed the keyboard lid. I just couldn't bear to let her touch my precious piano. It was a sudden action, but Emily glared at me. "This piano holds precious memories with my husband. I don't want someone who would push a child aside to play it." "Sorry." Facing the glaring Emily, I smiled gently. She clicked her tongue. She must have felt my strong intention not to let her play. "Let me say this, it's a waste for you to have this piano. Don't you think it's more suitable for someone like me? I can take it off your hands." Her eyes weren't smiling as she said this. I realized Emily was serious. The following night, all my relatives gathered for my 60th birthday celebration. It had been a long time since everyone, except for my eldest son and his wife, returned home. My sons and their wives celebrated my 60th birthday grandly. Being celebrated by everyone was more delightful than I had imagined. The celebration was lively, especially after receiving a song as a gift from my grandchildren. After the children's song ended and everyone applauded, Emily suddenly raised her voice. "Let's have her play the piano." Although Emily tried to seem like she just thought of it, I could tell she was waiting for a chance to embarrass me. Hearing Emily's words, my sons also exclaimed, "We've never heard her play either." I only ever played the piano when I was alone with my husband. None of my sons had heard me perform. "With such a wonderful piano, I'm sure you can play beautifully," Emily said with her usual smirking smile. "I'm afraid my playing would only spoil your ears. It's too embarrassing to perform at such a celebratory occasion." I tried to deflect with modesty, but Emily's attacks didn't stop. "Oh. You have such an expensive piano even though you can't play? Then I guess it's true what they say about wasteful spending." "The rumors must be true," she jeered. Even my eldest son, usually patient, sharply said, "Hey," at her behavior. But Emily wasn't someone to be stopped by mere words. John, looking troubled, glanced at me. "I guess I have no choice. Today is special, after all." Unable to bear seeing my son troubled any longer, I walked towards the piano. With light, quick footsteps, my piano-loving granddaughter, Emma, rushed to my side and clung close to me. Her face was alight with excitement, clearly looking forward to hearing me play. Her cheeks were slightly flushed with excitement. "I'm looking forward to it. I bet you can only play easy ones." Emily mocked as I opened the keyboard lid and sat down. The other daughters-in-law frowned at her attitude. Emily isn't very popular among the daughters-in-law. It's not surprising, given how she often uses her status as the eldest son's wife to boss around the others. The keys, untouched for so long, felt cold and comforting. I had been keeping the piano well-tuned, ready to be played at any time. I flexed my wrists a bit before letting my fingers glide over the keys. The first piece I played was Chopin's Ballade No. 4 in F minor, Op. 52. It's a challenging composition that begins gently and soon requires tremendous technical skill. Emily, realizing what I was playing, froze with a shocked expression. Playing the piano after so long made all the unpleasantness seem insignificant. I played several technically demanding pieces that my husband had loved, ending with a jazz arrangement of a song from my grandchildren's favorite anime. When I finished, the relatives burst into applause, praising me. Emma hugged my knees, excitedly exclaiming, "Amazing! Amazing!" The only one with a dissatisfied expression was Emily. I smiled at her. Mom really was a pianist. I thought Dad was joking. My eldest son said, a bit excited. I had kept my past as a pianist a secret from my sons, especially my eldest. After graduating from a music conservatory in Vienna and beginning my career as a pianist, I met my husband and had my eldest son. Faced with the choice between the piano and my husband, my mother-in-law pressured me, and after much deliberation, I chose my husband and my eldest son. To ensure my eldest son never felt burdened by this decision, my husband and I kept the whole truth hidden. After I declared I would never touch the piano again, my husband, wanting me to play just for him, bought this piano for me. Later, I learned that my mother-in-law had also played a role in the purchase of the piano. As compensation for taking away my dream, she and my husband had worked together to find and buy this piano for me. To me, this piano represents the bond with my husband and the love from my mother-in-law. I had no intention of giving it away to someone who only saw its monetary value. By the way, I've never heard Emily play either. Mom, would you mind if Emily played a piece? My eldest son asked me. Emily graduated from an elite music conservatory, right? Have you really never heard her play? I was a bit surprised by my eldest son's words. Come to think of it, there is no piano in my eldest son's household. This struck me as somewhat unnatural. Emily, could you play something for us? I'd like to hear it too, I said as I stood up, offering her the seat at the piano. However, Emily didn't move to sit down. Just the other day, she was eager to sit there, but now she was backing away as if scared. Her face had turned pale. I'm not feeling well today, so... She tried to excuse herself and escape the situation. Are you feeling unwell? You were eating and drinking just fine earlier. Is there a reason you can't play the piano? I pressed her, half in disbelief. Emily mumbled some excuses. I can't believe it, but it's not like your elite music conservatory graduation was also a lie, right? At my words, Emily visibly flinched. You're just saying that? Are you lying about everything but the pregnancy? I raised my voice in surprise. Emily's face went paler, and she looked like she might collapse. You mean to say, even your music conservatory graduation was a lie? My eldest son also questioned her in shock. Emily was silent, lost for words. The youngest, a 3-year-old grandchild, toddled over and pulled the flyer out of Emily's back pocket. Then, innocently, they handed it to me, saying, "Here you go." Maybe it was their small way of trying to help in this tense situation. I smiled and said, "Thank you," as I took the flyer, which left me astonished. The flyer was for high-value purchases of used pianos. On it, a buyback price was written in ballpoint pen, probably confirmed over the phone. Emily, you were planning to sell off my piano. I realized, reaching my limit. I yelled at Emily and passed the flyer around to the relatives. The relatives peered at the flyer and looked at Emily with disbelief. Unable to withstand their gaze, she fled, running back to her own home. The most pitiful person in this uproar was my eldest son. His wife, whom he had believed in, was proven to be a big liar. I couldn't find the words to console him. Afterwards, my eldest son and Emily divorced. Apparently, my son had reached his limit with Emily's repeated lies. Moreover, she had a habit of overspending and had amassed a considerable debt, which she kept secret from my son. She intended to pay off this debt with the money from selling my piano. Upon learning of Emily's debt repayment plan, my eldest son promptly filed for divorce. Emily, whose marriage was built on lies, is now jobless and has retreated to her parents' home. I hear debt collectors visit her family's house daily. Afterwards, I decided to open a small piano school. A few children from the neighborhood are attending my piano classes. The piano, played by these children, seems to be producing joyous sounds. My granddaughter has also started attending my piano classes. Moved by my performance, my second son's wife was greatly impressed and decided to enroll her child in piano lessons. I am providing financial assistance for the piano school's tuition. The previously quiet house is now filled with the voices of children, making it much livelier. I think my husband would be pleased too.